this meeting of the North Carolina Planning Commission to order. Roll call, please.
Chairman Hellman,
Here.
Chairman Brennan,
Here.
Chairman Brunel,
Here.
Chairman Fritzy,
Here.
Chairman Carney,
Here.
Chairwoman Oxterman,
Here.
and Commissioner Zacharian.
Here.
Also present is Assistant City Attorney Luke Brown and our Building Inspector Cosmo. Approval of the minutes dated August 2nd, 2021.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Sure your mic's working. Got a lot of-
The first item on our agenda tonight is under old business, Florida Star North Tonawanda site plan review for construction of concrete slabs to house shipping container structures to house computer equipment, also pads and transformers for power distribution located at 1070 Erie Avenue.
Guys, why don't you grab the,
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Before we begin, I want to just make a couple of comments regarding the meeting tonight. I know most of you are probably upset that this is not a public hearing and that public comments at this meeting aren't accepted. But we did receive, I believe, 38 comments through email, maybe more, I'm not sure. I thought the number was 38, but in any event, there might be more. We received those comments. Every member of the commission has received those and read those. We do want you to know that we share the concerns. The main concerns seem to be the emissions from the plant, the water usage, the noise, and we strongly agree with you that those are concerns. And hopefully tonight, Digihost and Florida Star can answer those questions to the best of their ability. So I don't want you to think because this is not a public hearing that we don't value your opinion and use your opinion as in our decision. So just so you're aware of that. We received a ton of information on the project. Each of us got information from the police, the fire departments, the engineer, the attorneys. So we have done our due diligence. I want you to know that. How it turns out tonight, I don't know. We'll know shortly. But just so you know, we didn't take this lightly. We don't take your concerns lightly. We have no vested interest if it happens or if it doesn't happen. We're here to make sure it's done properly if we approve it, and that's all we can do. So we'll see how events transpire, but again, I just wanted you to be aware of that situation. So having said that, I would like the representatives from Florida Star and also Digihost to make a thorough presentation. They have changed their site plan. We'll see that now, and if we can turn that a little bit so everyone can see it. I know that's going to be difficult, but at least if they can, they should be, the public should be. I'm not sure if this has been out for distribution to the public, but in any event. So I will turn it over to you. If the first presenter, please give us your name.
I'm David Giusiana from Giusiana Architects. So really the questions about the physical planning questions are really what I'm here to present and discuss. A lot of the other sort of operations of the plant and the environmental noise questions and things, we do have other people from Florida Star to answer those questions. Responding to comments from the board as well as from the public, tried to lessen the sort of visual impact of the project by all the pad sites now are reduced down to 2 containers in height, essentially 16, 17 feet, versus the 24 feet that they were originally proposed to be. And that would be both for the phase 1 and phase 2 structures. The switchgear building still remains the 20 by 120 foot structure that it always has. Although it has changed in concept from being a series of shipping containers fabricated together to being a more conventional post-frame construction that would be sided with metal siding and metal roofing to match the existing building. Colors as well, which the containers themselves would also be painted to match the existing building. There was questions and comments back looking for additional details for the size of all the pads. That's shown on the enlarged site plan that you have. The distances between the pads. Another one of the concerns from a physical planning standpoint was to reverse the way that if I can jump over here a second, the fact that now all the transformers are sort of interior to the spaces between the buildings versus essentially being aligned along the driveway. So at this point now, just essentially the back sides of all the containers would be what would be seen from the entrance drive. And then there were some comments about seeing some additional detailing for how the pads would actually be constructed. Under the New York State Building Code, they'd be built as shallow, frost-protected foundations. So they'd be very limited in depth, just some stonework, and then 4-inch pad with a 14-inch perimeter around, which the details are shown on the drawing as well. And back to the switchgear building, that's done as a post frame, or what a lot of people would call a pole barn building, which is just a series of concrete piers and then a concrete slab to go with it. There's also a reduction in the total number of structures that the plan had in this area here, some additional structures which are deemed unnecessary and so were removed from the plan, as well as these two structures. Here, well, this sort of long structure would be more just a single-story structure, would be sort of on-site storage for servicing the other buildings, as well as some of the testing and some of the other non-kind of operational uses that the rest of the buildings that are housing the computer mining devices would. That structure would not. I'm trying to think what else I can really show you. There is in your packet a grading and drainage plan that was reviewed by your city engineer. Sat with Chelsea a couple times and determined that it's a very limited impact. So we are looking to actually the large sort of maroon color lines represent large 30-inch diameter stormwater lines that then would create an on-site retention for the additional stormwater that would be created by these structures, and then they would drain to existing drainage structures and again add no more outfall to the city system than is currently exists. Some of the other issues were, again, just providing more architectural elevations of the structures themselves. You can see that they are fairly plain, with the architectural features primarily being really the staircase to the second level, and then the prominent cooling fans and intake and discharge grills that are primarily on the one side. Again, the remainder of the structures would be the corrugated steel, again painted to match the building. The switchgear building is a single-story structure. And the rendering there, again, primarily the steel siding and steel roofing, just some exit and entry doors at either end, and then operational overhead door to service the large-scale electrical switchgear equipment that would be in there. So if they need to remove stuff and replace it, they'd have the large overhead door. Excuse me. And again, the details for this construction are here as
Can I
well.
just get some?
Mike, just hang on one second, okay?
Okay.
Let them do
That's
this.
fine, that's fine.
Yeah, go ahead.
In terms of the physical planning, the actual dimensional, structural proposal, I think that really sort of sums up the work. The only thing I was remiss in discussing about the grading and drainage plan is that I do have the detailed grading and drainage plan for phase 1, and then show a two series of connections that would allow for the development of phase two, which again, your engineer and I worked out that that would be the acceptable way
Right.
to solve that problem. The site is very flat. The area where we're building is, as everyone has seen as they drive by, just a large lawn. It's almost dead flat. But again, because of the existing drainage structures that are on site, we will be able to remove all the stormwater from the site.
Before we get to our questions, is there any member of your group that would like to go further into the project? And then,
No, I'll answer your questions. I think you covered everything.
okay, I'll go down the line, we'll have questions asked, and Mike, we'll start with you. You have one?
Yeah, I wanted some, looking at the, Ken and I were looking at the A2 elevations. And on the back of those, are those like an exhaust fan louver window, or are they actual windows?
No, they would be louvers.
So it's a-
They'd only operate when they need to either intake or discharge air.
Okay, so it's like an exhaust fan.
Well, at the end are actual legitimate.
Right, I'm talking about the ones on the back,
The ones on the, yeah, those are
or side, whatever you want to call
right, full-on fans. And
Okay.
the sides would be, the long faces of the building would be louvers to allow air to come in.
it. Okay, all right.
And just to give you a little insight on those exhaust fans actually only run when it gets really hot out. So most of the time, they won't even be running. It's going to be natural convection that handles everything.
Okay. And then, are we gonna talk about anything we want with the?
Yeah, because we need to go over the seeker, and,
Okay.
we can,
The one thing that I was looking at, and there's been many things that I've had questions about. One of them though is if I was to come down Erie Avenue, I know there used to be a berm in front of the building.
There's still a berm there. We
Okay.
reduced the size
Okay.
a bunch of years ago because people were driving their four-wheelers off of them as ramps, and we had a safety issue with our lawnmower. So we reduced the slope of the berm, and then we replanted.
Okay.
But in addition to that, as part of our site plan, we are going to be reforesting between the berm and the railroad tracks. We're going to be putting another berm with a whole bunch of pine trees as well. So aesthetically, it's nice for the community to look at when they're driving past, and it will hide some of the project as well, and it will also be used as noise dampening.
Okay.
all right, so you're gonna add another berm. Do you have any idea of the dimension at this point?
We're waiting for our landscaping company, but it's going to be similar to what's existing right there, and then we'll use the rest as filler in between the existing trees. We're hoping we can get 12 to 14-foot pines in there.
Just so you know, I'm going to ask that if this gets to a resolution today, that we include that, if in fact there's a move to approve it. Not doubting you at all, but, we can say anything we want, and when push comes to shove, if it's not in writing, you're not forced to do that. So
Sure.
that's something that's important to us. We've discussed that as a group, and
Well, I think for the
and that
community,
separation is
for
important.
the community and
Right.
people up and down,
Yeah.
the street, there should be some buffer between the physical aspects of the project and the road
Sure.
and the neighborhoods around, so.
I mean, there is now, but we're going to make it more.
Okay, great.
We're going to fill it in.
Anything else, Mike?
Um,
You can always come back, but I'm just
Okay.
saying right now.
right now, that's,
Kenny?
Yeah, we received a lot of concerns about the noise levels. And what I wanted to know is the daily operational noise levels upon completion, not construction, but if the project was moved forward and completed. What are the daily operational noise levels, not only, winter or cold weather versus warm weather? Is there going to be a difference? Are the fans and exhaust units and cooling units going to run more in the summer than they do in the winter? Or is it going to be a steady, consistent noise level? Like I said, a lot of the feedback we got, concerns I should say, was about the noise levels once the project would be operational. So can you just talk to me about the,
Operationally, each one of the structures itself, the computer equipment itself will in fact generate heat, more heat than necessary especially during the summer, right? So the exhaust fans that are there, that are proposed, will dissipate the heat. Not just this project, but because we know in the area, in Western New York, there are so many of these things, including the Yahoo data centers and things, that part of the rationale for organizations like Digihost and Yahoo to come to this area is the fact that our weather isn't hot 12 months out of the year. And so natural cooling is going to be primarily the main source of cooling itself. The fans that are on here are really no larger than what many of us have in our household attics. Yes, they make some noise, but in no way, even if they're all operating, they won't exceed any of the City of North Tonawonda's noise ordinance standards.
You have to though understand that these things are gonna be running in the summertime, probably constantly, especially in 80, 90-degree weather, I'm assuming. I mean, I don't know that. So while you're right, they may not exceed the noise ordinance, they're still gonna be, I don't wanna say, you're gonna hear it. And it's most likely a constant thing. And I think that's what the residents are concerned about.
But I think sorry to interrupt, but part of the, I think Dan just hit on it, that just the way that the structures are designed to allow for a lot of natural convection, to utilize ambient air to blow across the systems to cool it more naturally. Take the advantage of the fact that it's the temperatures that we have in Western New York.
But to couple on that, with your noise concerns, and we're well aware of that as well, and we've done preliminary testing as well, and outside of 30 feet, you know, you're below 65, and then as you keep on going longer, it goes really low. The way we have positioned the containers from the louver side, which will be your noisiest side, is actually going back towards the building, which will hit all the trees and the building and nothing behind that side. So I did take some measurements, and we're about 180 feet from the first house across the street to where just inside the railroad tracks where the first berm is. So we have plenty of distance there. I did take some measurements, just standard road noise on a continuous basis during the day, and we were about 80, some peaks at 90, just at that first house. But we're gonna be well below that. And we'll be well below the noise ordinance as well.
In the event that you do exceed those, and I know you're saying you're not going to exceed those, in the event that you do, is there remediation steps you can take at that point to say, okay, you know, we weren't correct in this, what can we expect you to do to maintain that level or below, actually, is what we're actually after?
So we will use, you know, reasonable engineering, industrial controls to help dampen any of that, if that is and does become an issue. There's sound dampeners we can put on the exit sides of the louvers as well, which will absorb more noise. So power plant ran a couple weeks ago, 2 days, and the noise level is consistent, and you hear the hum of the power plant, and we haven't had complaints in many years of any noise, and we don't anticipate it to be any more than it is existing. But in the event of your concern, we'll work with you and we'll put additional engineering controls to dampen that. And there are things available to us for that.
Thank you. Thanks. Bev?
I wanted to address the area in the seeker that says the company is going to be using 500,000 gallons of our water a day, okay? And I know our water treatment plant has no problem with that. And approximately 100,000 gallons of water is going back to the water treatment plant. Where's all the 300,000 gallons of water in the middle?
400. It's
400, I mean.
We've been doing this for 30 years. It's the way the power plant works. And the power plant is about 93% evaporation.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's where the rest goes.
I have a second part to that question. Okay, the gallons of water that are going, an outtake of them, is it going through the city storm sewers? Which city storm sewers? The Meadow Drive Extension, Durez? Mayor's
It's going
Park?
right back to city wastewater.
It's going
No
into the
storm.
sanitary.
No sanitary.
It's going through a
Storm. It's
sanitary
going
sewer
sanitary.
No
system?
storm.
Sanitary, for sure.
Okay.
And to some of the other comments that I've read, we have a discharge limit of 90 degrees going to the city sanitary. So I don't know where people came up with it's superheated water, that we're bringing it, discharging to the river. It doesn't go there. So we have a 90-degree limit, and it goes all to sanitary.
Okay.
In addition, the discharge is actually metered, so the actual volume of that water is known and
Yep.
charged
We get
accordingly.
charged for it.
It's meters, not, you're measuring it in meters, you said?
No, it's metered,
Metered.
the metered.
Oh,
So we have to
metered.
pay
Oh,
for our discharge in gallons.
Okay.
Just for the benefit of the commission and also the public, I had a couple of meetings with Chelsea, and she reiterated that it is not superheated water. It's well within the limits of what we can handle and the discharge permit that you have, and she wasn't concerned at all. The water superintendent said the same thing, that our infrastructure can take the additional water. In fact, paraphrasing, he said that it's a drop in the bucket, but we know it's a lot of water, so I don't want to dismiss that, but.
Right, but I wouldn't say it's additional water. Anytime the power plant has ran in the past 30 years, it's the same amount of water we take in, it's the same amount of water we put out. So the process for the power plant has been no
Doesn't
different.
change.
So when you say additional water, it's really not additional, it's just every time we run, that's what we use.
Well, it's additional in terms of what you've been using, because you're not fully operational. I guess that's what I meant by that additional water. Sure, Bev, too. So,
Right.
anything else, Bev?
Now, I'm gonna ask about
That's-
employees, but I'll do that later.
That's fine. Pete?
I'll reserve until we actually start to actually go through the seeker. There's a few points we'll hit on there.
Carol?
Yep. I had a question about, do you have generators on site? And kind of along with that is, if the power plant ever reaches its max capacity with you, do you project that it will ever hit that max? And if it does, where are you getting that power from? And so generators do you have on site? How many, what do you do with those kind of things? Or
We don't,
like backup type things I'm talking about?
we have a generator to start the plant up, or if we lose utility power,
Okay,
but that's it. We
Okay.
don't use it for anything other than that.
and there won't be backup generators
No.
for the computer section of it? Okay. And then if you come close to, needing more power than the plant can provide, do you see that happening, or do you have some sort of thought of that?
We can't enhance the power plant any more than it already is.
Okay.
No, but if the plant is fully engaged, providing to the grid, the Digihost portion of the project would actually be obtaining power from the grid.
Right, I think I was looking down the line, like, if for some reason you thought you might, as every good business would like to do, expand at some point, and, maybe have a demand for more power, is what I'm talking about.
We're limited by the utility lines coming in, so we're at its max at this point.
Okay, so the max of the power plant itself is all you would plan on utilizing at this time?
That's correct.
Okay.
Just to add on to that, just a real quick question. You're functioning now when the grid needs your power. Will that continue, or does this eliminate that altogether?
No, we're still interconnected with the grid, and we'll be
Okay.
in their services as
Okay.
well.
Thank you. Rob?
Sure, yes, I had one question, maybe a couple questions, but a couple minutes ago you alluded to the fact that you changed the site plan slightly since last time we saw you, which it seems to be an overall reduction or slight reduction of the amount of structures and pads and whatever else that's there. I guess my question is why was that done, and was that done in response to some of the questions from the public here or concerns from the public to reduce the amount of noise, reduce the amount of capacity, reduce any of that, or is that just simply a decision based on your operations?
Well, I think it's a bit of both. I mean, I think that looking at the project and the concern about especially the height of the structures. So looking at a different type of operation where essentially there was going to be switchgear and computers in each one of the boxes, and now they'll be set up where each one of the individual separate components will have all the electrical switchgear below, and then essentially all the computers above. So it allowed a sort of better efficiency of space, so the other additional space of that third level wasn't really required. But again, yeah, so it's sort of a little above.
Okay.
Guys, I didn't ask you earlier, but could you talk more into the mic so everyone can hear you?
Sorry.
It's my fault, I'm sorry.
And then, maybe part B of that question is, will that, or don't you know, apply to phase 2 as well? Will phase 2 still be the 3-story structures, or will they be these?
No,
sort of scaled down?
the phase 2 structures will be the same 2-story structures.
If
I'm
it
sorry,
were-
I apologize, I thought I turned this off.
If you want to ask, okay. Okay,
And again, because of the design and the layout, they're physically much more efficient to do these 2-story versions than the way they had planned on doing the three box
Right.
versions.
so I think what I'm getting at in general here is from, this is the third time maybe we saw you here, from the original time that you came to us to now, it seems like you've, at least in my opinion, so far have responded somewhat to some of the comments and questions and problems that everybody has had with the addition of the berms and the visual barriers and the noise barriers and reduction of capacity and stuff like that. So I understand, and I'm glad you answered in that way. So thank you. That's all I have for now.
Okay, any other questions before we get to the seeker? We'll open it up for more questions
I
in
do.
a minute.
One question. When you address the seeker, can we get a specific number of actual structures as part of your approval for the site plan?
Okay.
Thank
Good
you.
idea. Thank you, guys.
I think, Kaz, on that, they already did say that they were gonna be 8 feet shorter. So instead of being 24 feet high, they're gonna be 16.
I'm not
But I
sure if
think
they
you meant
changed
the
the
number of-
seeker.
the
That's-
number-
No, I'm just saying, I know that we were trying to figure out the total math.
When we get to
I just wanted to-
that portion, we'll make sure we get that number, will have to be changed in here, okay? So, okay, we did declare ourselves lead agency at the last meeting, I believe. And they have provided us with a revised site plan. So my thought was to review page by page, not item by item. A lot of it is redundant stuff that we've addressed already and asked. So I'm going to go page by page. If you have a question, please bring it up. If not, we'll just move on to the next page. So, number 1. Page 1. Page 2.
Now, Tom, I know that some of the things in the comments we got from the city engineer talked about some things in the seeker.
Right, that's why I want to address those
Okay.
issues now.
Okay, so.
Yeah. I think they've addressed a number of those already, but, you know.
That's what I'm asking.
If they're still outstanding, we'll make those changes.
Right.
Okay, so page 1, any questions? Really just the cover page. Page 2. Just, if you have a question, just state it, don't wait for me to call on you. Any issues on page 2? Page 3.
Can you address on page 3, we're all the way down,
D1E.
do you have a copy of your seeker?
Here you go.
I might have.
Here. If not, you can use this one.
Now we can break. You got an extra one?
As somebody stated, this is a revised site plan. It was not on the website as far as I know. Or on page 3. I'll just use yours. Look at yours.
Just sort of operationally with the seeker, that when we resubmitted, and then Chelsea had a chance to review, also the public comment period came and went. She issued a letter to Dan and I with some issues.
Right.
But in crossing with that, we actually had a conference call with her where we went line by line.
Right.
And then,
Yes.
so I don't know whether in fact you have the sort of earlier version of.
No, we
We
have
have
the
the
newer
current
version.
version. We have the current.
There's just a couple little minor things.
Which again, everything that
She addressed
What
it
she
then.
had, we have addressed on this latest
Right.
version.
This is just a minor question. So I'm looking at page 3, if you're there. D1, section E at the bottom. It's about your phases. Last question at the bottom.
Okay.
Will the proposed action be constructed in multiple phases? Yes, we already know that. Just as a point of clarification, you have anticipated commencement date of phase 1 at 6 months and anticipated completion date of final phase at 6 months. Did you mean 6 months after? Do you understand our confusion on that?
There's no date there. It should have been a date of,
Well, the year.
the commencement date of phase 1 and then the completion date, you know, approximate. We can't hold you to a certain day.
So 21 and then phase 2, 22. If that's what you want, an end
Well,
date.
do you have a month when you're gonna begin construction? I know you have
Begin
already.
construction as soon as you guys give us the approval.
So we'll put.
So if it takes you 6 months for phase 1, and then you're gonna do the anticipate of the final phase,
Within the other
would be
6
another 6 months, so it would actually be 1 year.
Right, that's where our confusion came in.
Should be a
You had 6
year
months,
instead of
but
6
We
months.
assumed you meant 6
Okay.
months.
Within a year, we plan to have this entire
I think we
project.
should, I think we should put September 2021 for the commencement date of phase 1. And the completion date, April, I think that's 6
Yeah.
months, April, okay. And then the completion date of the final phase,
Would be a year.
September 2020,
September
fall
20.
2022.
okay. You'll have to initial the changes. Don't mark that one, because that, well, you have to, we'll initial the changes.
Completion date of final phase.
September.
So then just as a.
And should I assume there's no issues if we do complete it earlier?
Oh, no, no. They're approximate, you know, we can't hold it, like I say, a certain date.
It's just a general question.
Yeah.
I think if there was any alteration to that schedule, then we'd come back and bring
Right,
it forward.
yeah,
So we
I
should
think it'd be fine.
what's going
And
on.
just as a point of question on that, it asks you to generally describe the connections or relationships among phases, including any contingencies. So if is there any contingency where phase 2 won't happen after phase 1? Or if there's a change that needs to be made, is your contingency then on phase 2 to come back to us for changes in approval or changes in site plan? Or is this going to be phase 1's done, phase 2's begun?
That's the way it's gonna work.
Okay.
Just, we just needed an answer for that. Okay, thank you.
Great. Any
Yeah,
other
again,
questions?
only the economics of the project would dictate
Certainly.
whether
Understand.
phase
Right.
2 would,
Yeah, understand.
Bitcoin goes to $1, we're gonna have a different conversation.
I understand.
All right, page 3, anything else? On to page 4.
Yes,
Go ahead.
page 4, I have one, under letter G. Total number of structures 40. I guess maybe this alludes to what Kaz had asked about. Is that still accurate?
No.
It's kind of, no, it's kind of a difficult question because the fact that the groupings of the sort of two
Yeah.
series of pods are connected by a platform. So to me, that's one structure, that's one physical structure. So,
Two of them would be one structure. That's
right,
what
so
I think. I would
1,
agree
2,
with you.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of those pairings in phase 1. Two, or one-story building, phase 1, and the switchgear building, phase 1. So what was that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 structures
Yep,
in
okay.
phase 1. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 structures. These are such a hybrid building, they don't really have a clear definition.
All right, so 15 total structures, is that what I heard?
Yes.
Instead of 40?
Yes.
And then part, double I there would be 24-foot height, which is
No.
now, as you stated, now
16 foot.
16 foot, but, yep, okay.
Approximately.
Approximately, right. 8-foot width and 100-foot length. I know that's maybe a tough one. The 100-foot would be the pole barn building?
The pole barn building is 21 by 120. The individual mining sites are actually 12 by 90.
12 wide?
Yes.
Okay,
So we got 8 on here though.
right, right, so we're gonna have to, we're changing that, right? By 90.
8 by 90,
12.
or 12 by 90.
The containers are 12 wide or the pads are 12 wide?
pads.
Yeah, okay. Okay, we'll add that to that.
Probably should put pads, right? Pads.
Well, I'll note that as pads.
And then dribble I, approximate extent of building space to be heated or cooled, 2,400 square foot. I assume all these are, as you stated, all these will be cooled at some point. That seems more than 2,400 square foot. If we're
Yeah, 2,400 square feet is the switchgear building, and that would actually get supplementary heat. The electrical equipment in there would not generate enough heat to forego freezing, where the other structures, the equipment itself, there's no additional heating necessary.
Okay.
And really cooling is not necessarily cooling in the extent that it's not air conditioning, it's
Just ventilation.
ventilation.
Right, understood. That makes sense.
All right, so that, okay.
Okay.
Anything else on page
That
4?
makes sense. Very good.
Did that, Kaz, did that clarify your question?
What I have are 13 structures, 16 feet high, and the full body 2,400 square feet.
And that'll be the dimension, or the square footage of something that needs to be heated, correct?
2,400 square feet,
Okay. All
approximately.
right, so that's what you were concerned about, right?
Yep, thank you.
Did we say 15, 1-5, right?
15, guys.
Thank you,
1-5,
Mr.
yep.
Director, 15.
15 total.
15.
Thank you.
1-5 total.
Yep, yep, yep.
16.
We have 15 structures.
15 total, 15 total.
Okay.
16.
Yeah. Okay, anything else on 4? If not, we'll go to 5. If I don't hear anything, I'm just gonna move along. 6? 7?
7, just as a point of clarification on the seeker, your hours of operation at the bottom, your 9 to 5 construction is fine. Your during operations, you have Monday to Friday, 24/7. Can we just clarify, we know your plan is to run 24/7, but as a matter of functionality on the seeker, can we just change your Saturday, Sunday, holidays, just say 24? We're just gonna amend that to say 24/7.
That's fine.
Anything else on 7? 8? Nothing on 8. Page 9. On to page 10. Page 11. Yeah. All right, what am I doing? On page 11, under E2, letter D, what is the average depth to the water table on the project site? Just an average? We did see you put the prominent soil type. Do we have any idea of,
I thought I had,
that could be added, but if you know.
yeah, I thought the first version of the seeker had like 12 to 20 feet, I thought.
Anybody have the old seeker with
That's
them?
just a matter of like,
I do.
transferred over.
What does it say?
What does it say? It doesn't.
Sorry.
Have the old one.
I think I have it too.
And we'll come back to that. Okay, we'll come back to that one. That's probably the new one.
6 to 12.
All right, yep.
6 to 12. That's the whole.
Yes.
6 to 12 feet. Oh, that's a bedrock, yeah.
No,
That's
Average.
bedrock.
it's not on there.
Okay.
That's what she said. It
All right,
was
we'll have to get
Yeah,
that.
what is the average depth of
amended.
the water table? It's not on this one either.
That's not a concern of Chelsea's, but we'll need that number to finish that off. Anything else on 11? 12. And lastly, 13. Okay. When we do the seeker, and if it's a motion or a negative declaration, we will add that item into open people. We'll add that item to be completed.
So that's the only one.
Okay. Okay. Open up to any other questions that any of the commissioners have at this point. Or would you rather do the seeker, or do you have other questions prior to that? Sept, go ahead.
Dan, how many employees in phase one are you anticipating, and how many in phase two, and then totally?
Right now, the power plant's hiring, and we're looking to add on 10 power plant employees. And then, once the miners are completed, there's going to be an additional 10 to 20 employees.
Total?
20 total?
Both phases?
So it would be about 30 total for the entire facility.
I assume there's not a lot of construction because it's really placing the containers on the pads, correct? Basically,
Right.
that's a major.
Right.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, then I will.
Could you just talk a little bit about the regulations of emissions from the power plant itself? How is that monitored, and how are you tell me about that.
Well, we fall under a Title V permit, so we have hourly emissions that we have to meet. And we have continuous emissions equipment that monitors it the entire time.
Dan, could you just speak in the microphone?
So the emissions equipment that we have is monitoring anytime we're running for all the pollutants that are required under the Title V permit. And the equipment gets audited annually by a third party, and all the documentation is submitted to the DEC and EPA. DEC witnesses annually the audit by the third party as well. And we submit all our quarterly, semi-annual, and annual reports to the DEC and EPA on all our emissions.
Okay.
And you're under their permit.
We are under the Title V permit.
So it's the amount of emissions is regulated by Illinois.
It's the DEC issues, EPA issues, what we have to fall under.
Okay. So they issue what regulations, the
That's
limits
correct,
of
yeah.
the.
We're regulated by the DEC on any emissions coming out.
Okay.
And through the history of the plant, 30 years, we've never had a violation.
Any other questions?
And that's even when you were at 100%
Correct,
capacity or operation?
correct.
Okay, one last time before we address seeker. Now, if we are going to make a motion,
Now, I just wanted to mention one last thing.
go ahead.
Is that we did, I know you mentioned, but we did receive a report
Oh, yes, yes,
from the fire department
right.
pertaining to some of the concerns.
Yes, we did.
If you want to touch on that real quick.
I can actually read the short letter if you'd like.
Yeah, do that.
Dear Mr., this is from our
There-
fire department.
There was two of them, too.
Right, yeah, I'll read both.
Okay, Brandon and
Right.
Worth and Kyle Stevener.
Right, this is from Assistant Chief Stevener. While the North Tonawanda Fire Department has not been presented with formal plans for the Digihost complex, we have no specific concerns in relation to firefighting tactics or hazards on the property at this point. We spoke with the City of Plattsburgh Fire Department regarding cryptocurrency mining operations, as they have a facility, actually they have more than one facility from what I'm told, within their city, and are comfortable with our operational capabilities in responding to incidents should the need arise. And then from Brandon Worth, another assistant chief, after reaching out for more information concerning data mining, I have found no specific concerns regarding hazards to firefighting. I've spoken with Joe McMahon, a building inspector from the city of Plattsburgh. He has forwarded me the changes they made to their local codes regarding cryptocurrency mining operations. So that's from the fire department. Anything else?
I just think we should maybe make one comment here about that, is that, you know, they've evidently made some changes to their firefighting codes, and maybe we could, you know, as a body, make a recommendation to the city. I know I saw the mayor back in the back before, but maybe we could make a recommendation to the city that they review our firefighting codes for this type of possibility, and maybe update them as to how Plattsburgh did with theirs.
Sure. Well,
I don't think, Tom, I said, in reading that letter, I don't think that he's saying that that the city of Plattsburgh made changes to anything firefighting
well,
I didn't
tactically.
take that way either.
Okay.
They made changes to their local codes regarding
Regarding
cryptocurrency,
this, and I think we
but
should-
not anything.
And I think that's a good point,
Concerning
Mike. I think
firefighting.
we should, yes.
Okay,
that's
I think we should look into it, at least,
Yep.
you know, make
Absolutely.
an effort to make
Yeah.
sure that we do follow
Okay.
protocol. You know, I'm sure the state has some type of, you're a former fireman, Kenny, you'd know this better than I would, so.
Again, any other questions regarding the project? Now, whoever is going to make a motion one way or the other, if it is for a negative declaration, we have to add that
They fill in page 13, page 11.
that they complete section E.2, letter D. What is the average depth of the water table on a project site? So if it's a negative deck, we're going to add that into the record. Okay, so they get that to us.
And the landscaping.
Well, that's not for seeker though.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We're doing seeker
Okay,
first.
okay, I'm sorry.
So is anybody, or is a commissioner, I'm looking for a motion to either, for a negative deck or a positive deck. Do I have a motion either way?
I'll make a motion that the project
Did you
is
find a
negative.
negative declaration?
Correct.
Okay, and we're adding that I mentioned down there. So, is,
Bedrock.
Page 11.
and also in that, Mike, would you add that we will update the changes and have them initialed to the submitted seeker?
Sure that it's a negative declaration and that all changes will be updated and initialed by the architect and anyone else from the project.
Okay.
A second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
The bedrock thing, right?
No,
that's
that's
Or the
table.
depth, the depth
Water
of the
table.
table.
Water table.
Water table, yeah.
Okay.
E2D.
Seeing we've completed that, we need a motion on the approval or disapproval of the project as submitted. And we will use the date of, where is it here? If it's a positive, it will be job number DCG-2, projects 2021. That's the site plan, the current site plan that we're addressing at this point.
September 2nd, right? Issue date?
September, I believe so, yes. Right. So that's what we're referring to if we have a, either way, if we approve or disapprove. So do I have a motion either way?
I'll make a motion to approve the project as submitted.
I second it.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. You will get,
add that additional berm.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, Tom.
thank you very much.
Put that in
Can
the
I ask-
All right,
resolution.
let's
Put that right in the
This is
resolution.
amendment.
Let's add an amendment to the resolution.
Yep.
So I'll make an amendment that the resolution, the original resolution includes landscaping, roadway landscaping with a berm and,
12 to 14 foot trees.
yeah, right?
Correct.
14-foot,
Whatever we can get at this point, yes.
Yeah.
cedar.
Okay, that's an amendment to the resolution. Can I have a second to that?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, is there any other business for the body to address? Yes, guys, you're gonna have to come up and initial. Hang on a second though, okay? Okay, seeing no other
I
business?
just wanted to make one comment, Kaz. I've understood that I guess your time here in the city is nearing to an end, and I just want to wish you well in your retirement with your beautiful wife Debbie that's sitting there with you. I hope you enjoy it and you have some enjoyable years together with your family and I'm sure grandchildren. So.
Thank you very much. I've enjoyed my 19 years. The planning board, I gotta make a comment tonight. This is probably the best meeting you've had in a number of years. You've addressed all the issues. I'm more than satisfied, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Good luck.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Yeah, come on up, guys.